Sabrina. Today I'm here with my Vampire Academy series discussion. Yes, I finished this entire series in just a couple of months. When did I start this series? I think I started it in March and in June, and I finished it. I don't finish series this quickly. That's not who I am, but here we are. You've been on my channel these past couple of months, you know I've been obsessed with this series, and I thought I'd just do a quick spoiler-free recap of my thoughts on the series, and if you should still check it out because it's an old one, and maybe some of you are like, maybe I shouldn't check it out, there's better fiction out there nowadays, we evolved. Let's begin with a basic summary of the series, because if you're just like me, you've heard about the series a bunch of times, but don't know what it's really about. At least that was me before I read the series. I heard about the series so much, and the only thing I knew about was that it followed vampires, and it took place in an academy. Which is enough to sell me on a series, to be honest. But it's not a lot. So if you need more, here we go. So in this world, we have three types of vampires. First of all, we have the Moroi, which are mortal vampires, and they have elemental magic. Each individual Moroi specializes in a different element, basically. You know how elemental magic works, and they are the royalty of this world. Then we have vampires, which are a human vampire hybrid, specifically human Moroi hybrid, and they basically get trained to guard the Moroi. Because the third type of vampire are the Strigoi, which are your typical immortal vampires, except that they kind of hunt Moroi, because that's where, if they feed on the Moroi, that's where they get the most power from, and they also like to turn them if it's possible. So you need the vampire to protect the Moroi. We follow Rose, who is a vampire, and her best friend Lisa, who is a Moroi, and they grew up together, and it's kind of presumed for Rose to become Lisa's guardian once they both graduate. But 2 years before the start of book 1, Lisa isn't feeling safe in the academy anymore. They're coming different threats, and like she doesn't feel safe anymore, so they run away from the school. And we start off book 1 when the guardians from the school catch up to them and drag them back to the school, and it turns out that the school actually isn't as safe as the real world. Who would have thunk it? It's so IA series. What else did you expect? Stuff happens from there onwards. It's the basic synopsis of the series. A lot more happens, obviously, but that would be spoilery, so we're not talking about that. Before going into individual reviews of each of these books, I thought it'd be fun to give you my ranking of these books. I read them very quickly. For me, it's like back-to-back reading, which I know it's not. People who actually binge read series read them way quicker after each other, but I didn't do that. But for me, this was binge reading. So I have fresh thoughts with all of these, and I can perfectly rank them. So at the bottom of my list is a Spirit Bound. Then on number 5 we have a Vampire Academy. Then we have Last Sacrifice. Then on number 3, the top 3, my 3 favorite books are number 3, Blood Promise. On number 2, Frostbite. Oops. And number 1, my favorite book in the series, is Shadow Kiss. Damn it, this is heavy. So that's my ranking for the series. If you want to know the reasons behind that, stick around for these individual reviews, which are all going to be spoiler-free, don't worry. The first book in the series, obviously, is Vampire Academy, which I gave 4 out of 5 stars. I think this was a great introduction to the series. It has introduced us to this very unique lore that this world has. It's full of tropes that I love, and executes them very well and plays with them very well. I immediately fell in love with Rose. I thought she was a typical main character. Honestly, when I read the synopsis of this book, I thought this was gonna follow Lisa. I was like, I don't know how to feel about that. So when I figured that we were gonna follow Rose, I was like, oh my god, that's interesting, because typically that's what would be like the side character, like the sidekick character, and it was nice following her. I wasn't the biggest fan of the romance in here. No, I thought it was a bit inappropriate, and I still do by the end of the series. But for some weird reason, I was shipping it. I was constantly thinking like, no, I can't feel like this. I really like that the main focus of this book was friendship, and that stays throughout the series. Like the friendship between Rose and Lisa is very strong and remains the main focus of it, and I really like that. Also a lot more deeper and darker than I expected it to be. The only problem I kind of had with this book is that the first half read very stereotypical YA, but the second half threw that on its head and played with a lot more things and was very action-packed and a lot of fun. So yeah, I was really excited to continue on to the next book after reading this one. I didn't give a warning, I'm sorry, but I have my fan on, in case you didn't notice it yet, but it's really hot. So well, the next book in the series is Frostbite, which I gave 5 out of 5 stars. I really love this book. It's not the best in the series, even though it's like my second favorite. I don't think it's like the best of the best in the series, but I like books like this where it's a little bit fluff. You know, the first half was kind of fluffy and more light, but then the second half is very action packed and boom 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 and a little bit more hard hitting, and I like the balance of those two things. How, you know, it made the book not feel too fluffy but also not too heavy. That I thought it had a nice balance. Learned a lot of new things about the magic system, and we had a lot of character growth in this book, which the character growth is very like consistent throughout the entire series. I really like that. There's a little bit of friction between Rose and Lisa in this book, and I liked seeing that because in reality, no matter how close you are with your best friend, sometimes there's gonna be like fights and disagreements, and I liked how that was portrayed in this series and in this book as well. There's a couple of romances going on in here that I really liked. Adrian is introduced in this book, whom I love so much. Adrian is my favorite character in the series. He was introduced in this book and I immediately fell in love with him. He's amazing. Then the third book is Shadow Kiss, which if you remember my ranking correctly is my favorite book in the series. I think this book had this Frostbite ended with a pretty heavy ending, so this book had a lot of things to deal with. I think it did that very well. It dealt a lot with trauma and grief, and I think there's also some great discussion around therapy in this book. There's a lot of mental health discussion in this book, and it isn't the best that I've read, but considering when this book came out, I feel like it is very forward compared to like other books that came out around this time. So I can appreciate that. It's a very action-packed book though. Like I feel like it balanced well with the action and like the internal grieving and mental problems. I really like the direction that this book took the series into, and again this ending is just mind-blowing. This ending is probably the best ending of like the entire series, like, book at least, and I wanted to throw my book across the room because I was so mad about it. But here we are, like not mad and it's bad, but mad as in like, why would you do that to me? The next book in the series is Blood Promise by Richelle Mead. Again, give this 5 out of 5 stars. The first half was not the most eventful, but I feel like it had a lot of great character work and world building in it. Again, this one has to deal with the consequences of the ending of the previous book a lot, and I think it did that very well and very interesting. We explore a different part of the world in this book. We're out of America, and I really liked that. The second half was very action-packed, and just some stuff that happened with the characters in this book, like how they interacted and stuff like that, just kind of made my like it's hard to explain this without spoiling anything. But yeah, I feel like this was a emotional roller coaster because I was going from like swooning to crying to just, I don't know, it was a lot, but I feel like everything was like well balanced. It wasn't like, what the fuck is this? It was well balanced. Then we get to my least favorite in the series, which is Spirit Bound. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, so I still really liked it, but truly I think this is more of like a bridge book between like the last book and the finale, because I don't remember too much of what happens in here. But like the main reason I don't like this book is that it has a trope in here, which is a pretty big part of this book, the trope. And I don't really like the trope, but I was pretty positive going into this book because the ending of book 4 already predicted this trope, so I was like, I'm hopeful. They've done a lot of things with tropes I love that I love even more, so maybe I will take a trope I don't like and turn it into something I like. but it didn't. But to be honest, I've never seen the trope done well, and I've never liked it. So yeah, I would go more in depth, but again, spoilers, so I'm not doing that. But it was still pretty enjoyable. It was a quick and fun read, which all of these books are. It has a lot of Adrian in it, and like I just said, I love Adrian. Also has more of a focus on the politics, and we are more in court, in the royal court, and I really like that setting, and I like spending my time with that. But another complaint I have on this book is that it wasn't as high stakes as I wanted. There's several instances where they are going to be this big impossible thing, and then it's done in like 5 seconds, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's not that big and impossible if you do it in like, you know. Let's move to the finale, which is Less Sacrifice, which I give 4 out of 5 stars. I just thought that the first half was a bit slow and a bit boring, but the second half was very action-packed and good, and I really liked it. The ending was a tad bit predictable in my opinion, but it was still very satisfying, and also left a lot of open doors for the Bloodline series, which is a spin-off series to this, and made me very excited about that series. Also, Adrian deserved better. It's not like anything bad happened to Adrian, or like he was done wrong or anything, but like his heart was broken, and my baby all lonely deserves happiness. I do think this book still did some great world expansion, because I feel like in finales you often can get into like that thing where you're not exploring the world more, but this one definitely still did that. There's basically 3 aspects of the book. There's a murder mystery, which I didn't like at all. I don't think it was done well. Then we have like a runaway storyline, which mainly just was like world building and some character work, and I liked that for what it was, but I do think it was like the least interesting storyline in this. And then there was a court intrigue storyline as well. That one I loved, but wasn't that big a part of this book, and I just would have liked it if it was a little bit more balanced. That's all my thoughts in this book. So yeah, if you want to know my overall thoughts on the series, I'm sure some of these you can already conclude from my individual thoughts, but still, here we go. First of all, I think this world and the lore of it all is very interesting and very unlike anything I've read before with vampires in it, or seen before with vampires in it, and I went to a pretty big vampire kick, so I know quite a lot. I don't know, I just thought it was very interesting and very atypical. I think this series strong suit is always in the second half of the book. The first half is always kind of looking through what happened in the previous book and kind of, in a way, just working through everything that happened in the previous book. Then the endings are like very action-packed and high stakes. It's like, oh my god, what's happening constantly. So yeah, definitely the strong suit of the series is always like the second half of a book. I really like these characters so much. As well, as you know, I have a deep love for Adrian, but I still really like all of the characters. I think they're very well developed and rounded characters. All of them, even like more side characters, they like had a service to the plot. They were developed. There were some like background characters that weren't really developed, but that makes sense because you don't have an influence on the plot. But if you had an influence on the plot, like, it was developed, and I really liked that. And I liked the quotes our main characters went through throughout the entire series. It is a very addictive series, which you might be able to tell by the fact that I binge read it in a couple of months, when normally I take years to finish a series. I'm so bad at finishing series. That's why I started this series of videos, to hold myself more accountable of finishing series. The fact that I finished this in a couple of months says a whole lot. And I'm super excited to continue on to the Bloodline series because of the breadcrumbs left in that last book, and we were introduced to the main character of that book like halfway through this series, so I've already gotten some time to know her, and I'm so excited. Those were my thoughts on the Vampire Academy series. Let me know in the comment section down below if you've read any of these books, what you thought of them. We can even go into spoilery detail because I love to discuss the series more with you. Just be sure to leave a spoiler warning at the top of your comment, so people who haven't read the series yet know not to read it because they don't want to get spoiled. So yeah, I guess I'll see you guys next time. Good.